Good morning. It's a little after 6 a.m. and I am Yori Folaren. This is TVC News and we're live across many parts of the Federation where our coverage of the presidential and National Assembly election will be holding. And that's just in about 2.5 hours, and accreditation will start at that time, and voting will begin as 87 million Nigerians, no less, go to the polls to elect president, 109 senators, and 360 members of the House of Representatives. We have our first set of images from our network of reporters standing by from Sokoto to Lagos with all the election day materials, news that is, in real time. Let's recap what is at stake as the process commences.
The 2023 election has unarguably become the most important election to international observers since Nigeria's return to democracy 24 years ago. Some even described it as the most competitive election ever in the country. It is no surprise that the regional body, ECOWAS, is also placing so much premium on this election. Besides population, Nigeria has the largest economy, large enough to drive the entire West African region. Also, because of the not-so-pleasant news of different coup d'etat and attempt to topple government in the West African region, Nigeria's election is deemed crucial in setting an example of a democratic process and a seamless transition of power to the other countries in the region and the continent.
The elections in Nigeria are not only about Nigeria. They go beyond Nigeria. They go beyond ECOWAS. They go beyond even the African continent. We are here and we are very keen and concerned, and we expect the best out of this election because it is Nigeria. It is Nigeria because 1 out of every 4 ECOWAS citizens is a Nigerian.
News filtered in on Wednesday night of the gruesome killing of our party's Enugu East senatorial candidate in the general elections. Following this unfortunate development, the Independent National Electoral Commission says it received a letter from the affected party seeking a replacement of the deceased candidate in line with provisions of the law. The electoral umpire now says the senatorial district's polls will now be conducted alongside the governorship elections next month, with the election materials left in the custody of the CBN.
The Commission has suspended the election in the senatorial district as provided by law. We have already communicated this decision to our Enugu State Office. Therefore, there will be no senatorial election in Enugu East Senatorial District, made up of 6 local government areas, 77 wards, and 1,630 polling units tomorrow, Saturday, the 25th of February, 2023. The election will now be combined with the governorship and state assembly elections holding in the next 2 weeks on 11th March 2023.
INEC also shares concerns by some core members in Imo State who have said they will not be going to some communities in the Osun local government area, 5 wards in Okigwe and 6 in Olu to conduct the polls due to insecurity.
However, we have been assured that with enough mobilization of security personnel to the area, it is possible for elections to hold in these locations.
The Inspector General of Police allays these fears. He says more than 425,000 security personnel across agencies have been deployed to ensure safety at the polls.
Nigeria Police is deploying 310,000 personnel, 973. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense will deploy 51,000 personnel. The Federal Road Safety Corps is deploying 21,000. Nigerian Correctional Service will deploy 11,336. National Drug Law Enforcement Agency will deploy 9,447. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission will deploy 350 officers, while the Nigerian Immigration Service will deploy 21,000. This brings the total to 425,106 personnel to police.
The Independent National Electoral Commission says the situation nationwide is calm and there have been no incidents involving its personnel or huge quantities of materials deployed by the Commission. It also adds that voter enthusiasm is high. Beyond protecting polling units and ensuring a violence-free conduct of the polls, the police also assures of plans to work with other agencies towards preventing vote buying, cybersecurity threats, while providing adequate post-election security, amongst others. Lara Folayo, TVC News, Abuja.
Nigeria's election is of significant importance to the international community for a number of reasons. It's the largest country in Africa with an estimated population of 206 people. The regional body, ECOWAS, has deployed a 250-man delegation to observe the conduct of the election, and the focus is on the process of being fair and credible. The Commonwealth's delegation is led by former President of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, who met with a number of interest groups from INEC, the police, and contenders who committed to a peace agreement in the course of elections.
Election has unarguably become the most important election to international observers since Nigeria's return to democracy 24 years ago. Some even described it as the most competitive election ever in the country. It is no surprise that the regional body, ECOWAS, is also placing so much premium on this election. Besides population, Nigeria has the largest economy, large enough to drive the entire West African region. Also, because of the not-so-pleasant news of different coup d'etat, an attempt to topple government in the West African region, Nigeria's election is deemed crucial in setting an example of a democratic process and a seamless transition of power to the other countries in the region and the continent.
The elections in Nigeria are not only about Nigeria. They go beyond Nigeria. They go beyond ECOWAS. They go beyond even the African continent. We are here and we are very keen and concerned, and we expect the best out of this election because it is Nigeria. It is Nigeria because 1 out of every 4 ECOWAS citizens is a Nigerian.
So what goes on here affects all of us, wherever we are. So democracy in Nigeria means democracy for the sub-region. It means democracy for the continent. So this is why ECOWAS attaches a lot of importance to these elections.
The ECOWAS observers in their pre-election observation report that the insecurity and cash crunch may increase voter apathy, deterring people from traveling to the various voting locations. The ECOWAS president also urged the observers to ensure their reports are factual, as other international observers will depend on these reports. Moya Thomas, TVC News, Abuja.
Okay, now let's go on to our first guest today, and that's a regular in the house, Professor Anthony Kila. He's a professor of strategy and development, as well as being a director at the Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies. He's the author of Epistles, Reflections on Nigeria. I'm sure, Prof, thank you very much as always. A fine morning to you in Lagos, southwest of the country, where we're broadcasting from.
Good morning to you. Good morning, everybody.
Indeed. And, you know, that book of yours, Reflections on Nigeria, I guess this is part of it. This is actually part of it, this election. Yes. It's been much anticipated. There's been a lot of tension. Or is it tension? Anxiety, shall I say? Because it is said that all the candidates are close.
Yes.
You know. In fact, they are saying that, that is, analysts are saying that when you look at it, it's not as if you can actually call it easily. Would you agree with that, bro?
Well, I agree with that. I think you say all the candidates. Actually, no, about 3.5 candidates are close. There are 18 candidates.
That's right.
About 15.5 of them are completely out of it. And you have...
I like this half of a candidate.
Well, yes, because, well, at least let us remember that there are 18 candidates
that's
today on the poll. And let us also acknowledge that out of the 18 candidates, about 3 or so are the real front runners. And you talk about anxiety and tension, maybe tension for some people. Understandably, tension for people who are running and for people who are operatives for them.
That's right.
A bit of anxiety for Nigerians because election is a ritual, is a moment to reset. Right. There is something that goes beyond just voting. It's something magical, like a collective ritual, a time we reset our life to say, let us get in new people so that things will be better. What happens later, that's up for grabs. Close to call, yes. There's no doubt it's close to call. It's been a long time we've had this. In this Fourth Republic, I think this is the first election that is so close. This election reminds of 1979, 1983 in the Second Republic, where you had the UPN, the NPN, the NPP, and perhaps a bit of PRP by the corner. So that is a replay of what is going on.
That's the election that threw up
Shagari
of blessed memory.
Yeah, the threw up Shagari. And I don't want to get into people's mind, but it also the election that in 1979 formed an alliance between NPN and NPP in power. People tend to forget that. But that's what happened in that election. This time around, we have technology, we have a bit of a difference. But for the first time, since 1999, this dispensation, we're not able to say this is the person who's going to win. Yeah. And if everybody says so, I assure viewers that they don't know what they're saying. They're just guessing. At best, they are hoping. But one thing I really want to say immediately is this. Tension, anxiety, let citizens not have it. I want to appeal to everybody to be very calm today.
Indeed.
Just go vote, come back home after you've voted, and if you have to wait for the vote to be counted, otherwise just go home. And tomorrow, nothing will happen. Politicians know that only one person and his vice will win. We're going to have just one winner. It's been known from the beginning that one person will win. Let me assure viewers that politicians have already braced themselves for the possibility of losing.
There's only one of
or
two
winning.
results.
So the rest of us, let's just do our duty and go home. Parents should tell their children, nothing is worth dying for. Nothing is worth destroying. And I want to tell young, angry people, there's a difference between protest and destruction. Do not destroy anything. That is a crime, and if you're caught on camera, you will be persecuted.
Which reminds me, as you bring that up, Tony, that the police, the security agencies have gone to great lengths to assure people that it'll be safe. If there were some rumblings of maybe they wouldn't be voting. It was said categorically by the chairman of INEC, there will be voting. They've gone to great lengths. But talking about some of the anxiety I was speaking about earlier, for the first time, Tony, we are having elections in these conditions. That is to say, there's a shortage of cash, and the shortage of fuel is easing up.
Yes.
Let it be said. You still can't drive into a station, a petrol station, and drive out in like before, but it has eased up. Now you don't have queues up to almost half a mile long. But the cash thing, a lot of people, that really shook us up a bit. But would you say people are beginning to settle down? The whole idea of the cash was that they didn't want too much money around so as not to influence negative practices.
Well, I think, if it's a good, look, if you're a normal 9-to-5 person and you don't cut corner, you'll be happy to people say they want to make sure people don't buy votes. You can't really openly go against such intention. So that has to go. I think the process, if good intention, was definitely badly managed. I think that is the key thing. I went out yesterday to do something, and I spoke with some people, and they're still very angry. So let's not say it's easy now. I think people are adapting. Nigerians are very tough beings. We have this ability. But then, I was going to say we have the ability to adapt, but in reality it's because we have no choice. They just force this in on us. But I think we're where we are now. Again, I appeal to people to, as much as possible, embrace or adopt this cashless thing. You transfer to me, I transfer to you. Let's keep transferring. Nobody touches the cash. That is where we are. But it's a tough one, and it's affecting people. But there is a paradox here, because whilst they're telling citizens to go cashless, I'm shocked that INEC insists that they need cash.
Well, INEC did say that the little cash that they did need was provided by.
Oh yeah, I'm happy.
It said that most of these expenses and expenditure, the transfers,
Yes.
but that the little that they did need, they said they wanted to put on record the cooperation between them and the central bank. That central bank has made that available. They say, I think I was hearing that indeed is why all the materials have moved exactly the way they should be moving. And that
Two
they are where
things
they
I
want
need to
be.
say. I think I need to commend INEC for the bold statement, and the security agencies when they came out to say elections will hold.
Yes, that was
that's
reassuring.
very, yes, institutional move. You know, again, I hope they don't disgrace me today by postponing it. But, you know, I give them kudos for coming out to say this election must hold. That's a brilliant thing. And we must recognize the president as well for setting up a transition team weeks ago. That's another signal to the world, to everybody, to say elections will go and I will go away. You know, and, you know, in fairness, some of us cannot wait for this president to go, but that is another story. So let him go as quick as possible. But it's a good sign that they say so. I am not convinced of the need of INEC to need any cash at all.
Okay.
I am not persuaded by that.
Well, yes.
Because in my view, for anything INEC needs to do, it's INEC. That is one of the biggest institutions in Nigeria. People will grovel to work with them. And because election day is a sure thing, I argue that INEC should have before now done a register of all their vendors to the last vendor.
That's right.
And agree with them and let them submit their account. A simple student of project management and supply chain will tell you this. A simple Excel sheet would do it. You put vendor's name, services or product, account number, status of payment, status of delivery. It's a 5-6 column paper and it's done. So please, let's not make it complicated.
Exactly. But, you know, I just got...
But I'm happy they got the money, as you say.
Yes, because
demanded for it.
And the chairman was emphasizing that, in fact, he used those words, the little amount that they did need, you know, suggesting that the bulk of their work had been done.
So that people like me will not come and criticize.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Now, security clearly is one of the things that the next president is going to have to be confronting. Yes. That's going to be major. But there are many things, but security. But before we go into that, maybe you look at the fact that part of security, well, today, 2023, we still have to lock down the country because of the elections. I have heard commentary that, well, we can't wait till we'll get to the day where we could go on with our lives, and you know, elections will also be holding. For the moment, it is the way it has to be, because people are just not, quote unquote, behaving. You heard police reports yesterday of having discovered a lot of money in the millions, I think about something like 30 for the purpose of vote buying. I was surprised that they could, but that also speaks to how tight the police are being and the security agencies are being, doesn't it?
Well, I think, yes, two things. Number one, we have the people, we have to admit to ourselves, we shouldn't get used to bad things. We have to admit that it's an embarrassment.
It is.
That because we want to vote, we have to shut down the country. It's not necessary. You see, I argue that we, the people, citizens, we're not going to have a normal country, we're not going to have a normal democracy until we're able to conceptualize election day as a day in which, so today, what is today? Today is a day in which less than 350 people are seeking a new job, are seeking to retain their job. And the calculation is very easy. 109 senators and about 360 representatives and the vice president and president and the vice president. Those are the people who are looking for new jobs. Obviously, they will nominate people later. But the rest of us should be getting on with our lives. And we need to look at it that way. It is not the end of the world. It is not a messiah moment. It is nothing of such. It is a simple thing of employing people. That is number one. Then number two, we really have to be clear about this thing so we can solve the problem. We need to simplify. When we talk about people causing disruption, it is not millions of people. It is a group of about 3,000 people in Nigeria.
Something like that.
And these groups are politicians. They are the one who are paying, inducing people to ferment chaos. So I think we need to know that, if not all, there's a lot of those planning to rule us who have some criminal bone in them,
Indeed, and that
who
explains,
plan to cheat.
and that explains the lockdown.
And that explains the lockdown.
Since you can't ask people nicely to please behave yourself,
yes.
please, you are no less than people around the world
Yes.
who do what we are seeking to do. But unfortunately, for the moment, you do that kind of a thing, and we have seen evidence has shown that what the police were able to intercept, there might have been a lot more of that.
Of course,
and that's
yes,
what we're
yes,
trying
that-
to
and that's
get
what we're
rid
trying to
of.
do. But I do also believe that those people that they've intercepted, I think they need to name and shame them.
Exactly.
I think it's name, shame, prosecute them, so we all can learn from it. That is not good. I see the peace accord,
Yes.
which is a very good initiative, and
But it's not new. Our people, our politicians,
they've always done
our contestants have always
exactly.
been
You
looking
see,
for-
you are more cynical than me. But I was trying to play it nicely, but it's a good initiative. But you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of people who go to church on Sunday. After all the good things, they go there. Immediately they get out, they start to drive badly. that is what the whole thing reminds. But I think we should continue doing it. Everybody should do their bits. Sociologists, theologists, and moralists, and public commentators, and influential people like you should keep telling all of us what is wrong. Then the institution, the police and the judicial system should arrest, persecute, name and shame those who violate the law. And the rest of us should teach our children and the whole society that it is wrong to try to steal election. We need to understand how barbaric, how fraudulent it is. Anybody who gets to power through fraud cannot do anything for the country. Let me assure people today. People who get there by all means, it's not good.
But unfortunately, there's this quest for power, which people realize there's nothing we can do about it. For the moment, maybe that's the level of development that we are experiencing. But it is what it is.
I think we need to think it, but it's not ambition, though. There's nothing wrong being ambitious. Let me tell people now.
Ambition is
Politicians
one thing.
should not
Honesty
be
is another.
ashamed. Exactly.
You can be ambitious and honest.
Exactly.
You
It is
could-
the way they play the game.
You could fight honorably.
Honorably. Footballers want to score. Footballers want to shine on the field. But if they cheat, if they push, if they foul, they are penalized. That's the point. That's the way we need to look at it. Every footballer wants to be a star.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Now, we must hand it to INEC along the lines of what we're talking about now, credible elections. INEC has gone to great lengths, and for the first time, I think, people can actually, having listened to INEC, be assured that, my vote will count.
Yeah.
The youths that used to be apathetic to it all probably are now saying that, it's different this time around. What with all the devices, all the technology INEC has brought into it, people now believe that when I vote, it will count. Before, they used to say, it doesn't matter, they will do what they will do, but no, things are different. INEC is, kudos to INEC in that regard.
Well, I think so. I think there are people like me who are always impatient and who are never satisfied, and we keep pushing the boundaries. But objectively speaking, I think election after election, there's been improvement.
That's right.
I predict that this will be the best election so far in this republic. Just like the last one was better than the one before.
Indeed.
With the flaws that were there. The difference objectively, and the problem for somebody like me, is that rather than be content with marginal gradual reform, I argue that we need a quantum leap that will change things radically. I argue that we need to link technology with our process more so that sooner than later, people can vote from home rather than go out at all.
And even diasporans,
And even
Nigerians in diaspora.
We'll
that's
get
to that stage.
We get to that stage.
I believe there are countries that have that.
Yeah, they have it. Yes,
Yes.
there are ways to do that. But then again, you see, and this is an unpopular view. I think on paper it sounds good, this diaspora vote. But trust me, it is not as straightforward as people make it. Not the process, the philosophy at all. You see, we have to be very careful. The idea that somebody, and it doesn't matter if they do it in America or not, I make a universal case. To say, let us think carefully. Somebody who does not vote in a place, who does not stay in a place, voting for the lives of people there, it's not as straightforward, because if you're not going to feel the pain, you can vote a dictator for them. Under the guise that my people are disciplined, they are slack, let me give them a strong man that will
You
bring bones on
don't
them.
really know who
Because
you're voting for.
No, because you're not feeling the consequence
Okay, of casting your vote.
Of casting your vote. So for example, if I believe Nigerians are indisciplined and Nigerians are slow, I would just say, oh, you know what? Give them somebody that will beat them or that will make life tough for them. Because I will not be on that queue of taking that beating. So I think it's not as straightforward. It's a good intention. I think it needs a closer scrutiny of the debate to do that. But overall, the idea of technology, but you see, I believe moving forward, INEC needs to decentralize, it needs to digitalize, and need to devolve a lot of its powers. That's the way, what I think it ought to do. I, for example, argue that voters' card can be outsourced to banks. Let people go and collect it in banks. If you have no bank account, then perhaps you go to a local government so that we just reduce the tension on some places.
I hear what you're saying.
And you can even vote online. You know, you use your thumbprint, use your biometrics, do anything from your laptop.
In that connection, let's see what some reactions are across states about INEC preparations for these elections.
Clarity, I would like to quote verbatim Section 34, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022, which says, and I quote, if after the time for the delivery of nomination paper and before the commencement of poll, a nominated candidate dies, the Chief National Electoral Commissioner shall, being satisfied of the fact of death, countermand the poll in which the deceased candidate was to participate, and the Commission shall appoint some other convenient date for the election within 14 days, unquote. The Labour Party has provided satisfactory evidence of the death of its candidate. Consequently, the Commission has suspended the election in the senatorial district as provided by law. We have already communicated this decision to our Enugu State office. Therefore, there will be no senatorial election in Enugu East Senatorial District, made up of 6 local government areas, 77 wards, and 1,630 polling units tomorrow, Saturday, the 25th of February, 2023. The election will now be combined with the governorship and state assembly elections, holding in the next 2 weeks on 11th March, 2023. Materials already delivered for the senatorial election will remain in the custody of the central bank in the state until the new date for the election. We are glad about the progress we are making with the movement of materials to various locations around the country. Having deployed these materials to the local government areas, we are today devolving deployment to the registration area centers so that early morning tomorrow, the polls will open as planned. These registration area centers have been activated and election duty staff have started arriving in them. The Commission is aware of the situation in Imo State, in the southeastern part of the country, where it was reported that some of the critical polling unit officials drawn from the National Youth Service Corps have withdrawn their participation from some local government areas as a result of perennial insecurity. From the reports we received from our state office, concerns have been expressed about the security situation in Osu local government area, 5 wards in Okigwe, and 6 in Olu local government areas. However, we have been assured that with enough mobilization of security personnel to the area, it is possible for elections to hold in these locations.
Okay, got something of a situation report there, a bit all encompassing. And first of all, the election being postponed, in Enugu East Senatorial District because of the unfortunate murder of the candidate there, as should be, right?
Well, it should be. You know, it's a very sad thing that people are mulling over election. Very sad thing indeed. And, you know, we shall overcome. We just have to pray that this too shall pass. One day, we have elections where people are not killed. And that's it. But I think it's done the right thing. And luckily, the law has provided for these kind of unfortunate, sad circumstances. Condolence to all the family. That's the right thing to do. You suspend it and they go and vote another day.
Exactly. And then still some challenges about youth corps workers having to withdraw their services. Quite frankly, they got intimidated out. Nobody could guarantee them security.
I think it's a failure of citizenry and a failure of government. Citizenry, because it shows you that it's a triumph of evil, let's put it that way. It shows you that people who do not want a good process to go ahead are having an upper hand in the situation.
Temporary, but
but nevertheless, it's had it, and it's a bad signal. And I also think that it's a sad thing that those young people and their parents, because a lot of people are involved, we tend to forget that when we say one person, we tend to forget the network of people who are involved. When you talk about each youth corps has parents, wards, uncle and aunties who are thinking of that situation. I think I know because I deal with young people more than most people. And it's a shame that the institution cannot guarantee their safety. This, is a further call, because the call has been there about security in that region, like all over the country, as you've mentioned. It's a further call for us to wake up, a wake-up call to say, look, we need to do something about this situation. We cannot continue this way. And it's a sad thing, but, here we are. I think they've taken alternative measures, so the elections will go on. It's just that we need to deal with it.
Indeed. Now, talking about the elections that will be going on, what's the sense you get of the level of enthusiasm? In the past, they have been sort of lukewarm, but it does seem to me like this is different. Do you get that feeling?
Well, I think this is different too. I have the feeling because, people are really excited. I am not one of those mega excited. I get too old to be so excited about things. But objectively, people are excited. And it's understandable. You know why it's excited? Because I think for two reasons, mainly. Number one is that we have a sitting president. Because, and I want to emphasize this adverb, sadly for us, most Nigerians focus on just the president. And I think it's very responsible. By the way, here, let me say to viewers, you still have a few hours before going out to vote.
Yes.
Please take some time to study the people going for Senate and going for House of Reps as well. When you cast your vote, to see if these people are worthy.
Beyond the presidency.
Beyond just the presidency itself. Because the president is not going to work in a vacuum. These people matter as well. So take your time to study them. But I was saying that because we look at the presidency a lot, and because it is clear that the president on seat is not going to be contesting, he's going away. By the way, this is the first time Barry is not going to be on the poll. After a very long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a sense in which a former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is also like that.
Exactly.
He's
One day,
he's
a serial contender. One day he will not be there again as well, just like Barry. This is the last time. So the sense that the person that is going away and there's a renewal gives people bigger sense of participation. The other thing I give bigger sense of participation is that for the first time in Nigeria, we have in the last 8 years, 7 years plus, actually tried an alternative parties in power. So the idea, people now believe that somebody in opposition can actually win. And because of the improvement in the electoral system, we are seeing that it is not always the government in power wins. The party in power does not always win. So that gives people some excitement. And I also think because there's a new generation, I'm surprised that the data have not analyzed it, but I took time to notice the amount of first-time voters.
Well, I was going to come to that.
Yes, and I think the first-time voters are the highest percentage ever in the history of this republic has been growing.
Well, you know why I'm not surprised, Tony?
Yes.
Because just checking out some statistics,
yes,
we find that 57% of us, no less, of
yes,
Nigerians are between the ages of 15 and 64.
Exactly.
57%.
50%.
Now,
exactly.
70s and above,
yes,
actually 3%.
Yes.
3%. Does that sort of explain with communication and all of that, do you expect that the youths, the younger persons, I mean, it seems to stand to reason, doesn't it, that
Yeah.
if 50% of Nigerians are somewhere between 15 and 64,
Yes.
maybe that should reflect in the turnout today. Do you think it might?
Well, it might, because I remember the first time I was going to vote. I was very excited, when I can vote today. So I went excitedly. I don't know about other people, but the idea that you have a first time to do it, you've been out of the system, it brings excitement. So people are going to go and vote. Of course, we'll see what they vote by the end of tomorrow.
And do you think they've been specifically addressed this time more than in other times as we've gone through the elections, or is it a bit of the same?
It's a bit of the same. I think there's not been a direct, visible, empathic approach to the youth. But I'll tell you what has happened. The youth have not waited to be addressed.
Okay.
They've been protagonists themselves. And that's a lot because of
that's
this.
evolutionary, isn't it?
Yes, it's because of the social media. Because now, they don't need to go and buy the newspaper or write to the editor. They're all publishers themselves. They just go on Twitter, on Facebook, and all the social media and say things, many of them ill-informed, rude, and this I must say to the youth, no matter their passion, the youth also need to learn a civic language of communication. You go to the forums where they argue, and instead of saying, I disagree with you, the first thing that comes to mind to them is to say, shut up. So
no, you used to have to get a lot more sophisticated.
Yes, sophisticated
and
in
come into
engagement.
But
Yes.
when you look at, okay, we love that slide, but that slide is pointing out that 87 million PVCs
Yes.
have been collected, number of PVCs
Number
collected,
of PVCs
87
collected,
million.
yes.
And when you look at it, uncollected, for whatever reason, 6 million. And that's not a drop in the bucket. 6 million.
Well, you say that it's okay. So let's put it this way: there are two schools of thoughts. One majority, one a tiny minority. I belong to the tiny minority. I don't really celebrate this large participation in voting. So for me, 6.7% that did not collect their
PVCs.
card is not a big deal to me.
Okay.
It's okay.
Especially as 87 million did.
Did collect it.
Okay.
And we're even struggling to manage those ones that
Out
did
of the
collect it.
93 million
That
registered
did.
voters.
Yes. I tell you where my concern is. When I look at those 87 million plus people that are collecting it, how many of them have read the manifestos?
Well, that's another question altogether.
You see, how many of them truly know what they are doing in this process, It's something that concerns me. So let's look at that very well. I don't get carried away. I'm not overjoyed by this massive participation. I know this is an unpopular thing, but I must say the truth.
But people want, we
more
want
the
more.
merrier.
Yes, we want more people to own this process.
Yeah.
I see jingles explaining that it's not just your civic duty, but also your right.
You're right.
Participate in who, just as you were saying, you want people to look at the legislators as well.
Yes.
Yeah, the president, probably they are the stars of this particular show, but also star billing goes to these representatives as well.
But I agree with you, and but the thing is, when you look at these close to 90 million potential voters there, how many of them are willing to sell their vote? How many of them are thoroughly informed of the consequences of their action? How many of them have the clarity of mind and the courage of voice to say this is the right thing, I'm going to do it because I understand it? That is a concern we need to address. And I think philosophically, I have had a chance to say it, and I stand by it, that this universal suffrage that we embraced, that thing you call right, I don't think is a good move. The idea of thinking that voting assets your citizenship, I think is an illusion.
Okay, okay. Well, as you said, that's the way you feel about this this matter. Because we're trying to, you see.
I want viewers to know the way Yuri was looking at me.
I was just wondering. Here we are wanting to get everybody in. We want also, we just want a vibrant society, and that starts with vibrant leaders. On one level, you could say vibrant leaders, whatever the age bracket. But since we're talking about the largest bracket here, where you have 57% of Nigerians being between that, whole cache of 15 to 64,
you want the leader to be young like them.
How optimistic are you that we'll get to that stage where you get leaders around the world in their in their middle ages.
I think it's just, look,
30s, 40s, 50s.
I think it's just a
maybe
coincidence.
60s. It's just a coincidence.
It doesn't matter.
No.
Honestly, the leader just has to be mentally, physically, emotionally, and intellectually capable. I do not believe in the age. In this country, we have had leaders who were presidents and leaders.
They just have to be
in
competent.
Their 30s, competent, yes. We've had leaders in their 30s before.
That's right.
When Ronald Reagan was in his late 70s or so, I don't even know how old he was. He seems so old to everybody then. Shehu Shagari was 40-something.
That's right.
Or 50-something. It really doesn't matter. We have had moments when the other leaders of the world were old.
Yes.
We had young leaders. We have had moments when other leaders of the world are young. We had old leaders.
That's right.
I think this age thing is overrated. We need to look at the individual and see mentally, emotionally, physically fit and competent to deal with the
I hear
issue.
you.
And you see, by the way, the idea of direct representation is an illusion in democracy. It doesn't go that way. Somehow, it is the minority that lead, because minority from the primordial state are the strongest. You know, when there was no civilization and there was no reasoning, it was the strongest person in the pack that led the pack. Those of you remember in school, the first, especially when we went to boys' school, the first leaders were always the strongest boys. Before you now got to know each other, then you had a challenge of wits on battle, or, the first result of the first essay came in. Then you see, oh, this is the new leader. He can perhaps confront the teacher. But normally it's about brute.
I like the point you made about it doesn't really matter, strictly speaking, about the age.
No, really.
Biden is 78, for example,
Although once in a while you wonder.
But it goes to the point you made that
Yes.
there's something of a mix, and
Yes.
undue attention shouldn't be
It should
paid
be,
on that.
Yeah, Biden's a good example, but I like Reagan because he's gone. He can't disgrace me anymore. When you quote people who are still alive and in power, I'm always wondering, because you say it now, they're going to do something tomorrow that will embarrass you. So,
it remains to be seen if the youths come out.
Yes.
It would be very nice, because they're a significant chunk of the population.
Yes.
Because we often see, maybe they make nice pictures when we want to show how everyone is involved, and you see some very senior citizens, all well and good. Yes, come on out.
Yes.
But we also, because Nigeria is a vibrant place, and its future is the youth, actually.
Well, absolutely. And I think what we should be asking for are programs, manifestos, policies, and actions that speak to the future. That is what matters. Because, you see, there's one advantage of having youth influence in policy making. Anything that looks towards the future benefits everybody. That is a good thing, because the future is always innovation, is brightness, comfort, and inclusive. So even if you're very old, old people like yourself,
that's right,
will still benefit.
I'll admit.
Old people like you will still benefit from what the youth are clamoring for. But what are they clamoring for? They want digitalization, they want inclusion, they want to be able to work.
Just a modern society.
Exactly.
And quite frankly, anybody can provide that.
Yes.
Young, middle-aged, or indeed senior.
And everybody can benefit from it.
And everybody can benefit for it. So far, it goes back to what you said, competence.
Competence,
A person
yes.
has to be competent
It has
to
to be.
to
You
rule,
need that
to
vision.
run. He
You
has
need
to be
understand.
knowledgeable.
The only case people can make against old people, and education cancels that argument. But the argument is that if you're old and you're not improving yourself, perhaps you will not know what's going on in the world. But, if you continuously engage and you continuously improve yourself, then there'll be no problem with your age. So let's say that.
So whoever wins is going to have, we've spoken about security is going to be on his mind. The economy is also another big one.
There,
the security and the economy.
And the
Our
economy.
economy is not where we want it to be.
No, not at all. It's let's be very clear. It's far from where we want it to be. So, these are moments where clarity is required. So we need to simplify and let it know. We need more jobs.
Exactly.
We need an environment that allows business to thrive.
Fresh ideas.
Fresh
in
ideas.
that whole area.
That's what
So
we
people
need.
need to pay attention to what the candidates are actually offering in that regard.
In that field,
that's something important.
They need to do that today while they're voting for them. And then I repeat, at this time of the day, we still have a bit of time to actually go back and look at it and say, what are these people offering? Then after that, we have to hold them accountable. whoever wins.
All right then. Well, still have Professor Anthony Kila with me. All appears to be set for the conduct of the elections as the Independent National Electoral Commission has deployed sensitive and non-sensitive materials for the exercise. Let's share some of the stories with you.
Rivers State has about 3.5 million registered voters, topping the ranking in the South-South and about the 4th highest in the country. This large voting strength has tested INEC's capacity in the past, but this time, the Commission says it has deployed sufficient equipment to the polling units. This includes biometric voter accreditation systems and backups to speed up the voting process and eliminate credibility issues. INEC will also be conducting election in the 23 local government areas with staff strength of 29,000.
We have the 6,865 beavers being distributed to the number of polling units in the state. These beavers number have been distributed since yesterday. What you saw them distributed now is what we call backup beavers. They are 430 beavers as backup beavers. In case anyone fails, immediately we'll activate those ones.
INEC doesn't only promise quick and easy voting, it also assures the electorate of their safety.
Police, we have about 17,000 men to police this election in Rivers State. And you could see when you came in here, you saw how they are strategically deployed to take care of this state office. So also our local government offices, our RAC centers, our collation centers, and the polling units will be well manned. So we have the assurance from the military, from the security agencies that the elections will be free and fair. There will not be intimidation.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has also reiterated that according to the Electoral Act 2022, only those who present their permanent voters' cards will be allowed to vote. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
The beehive of activities at the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission, as officials of the Commission are still distributing materials ahead of the presidential and National Assembly elections. Election observers, security officers, and other critical stakeholders involved in the electoral process were present at the INEC office in Calabar. From the Commission's office to the streets of Calabar, residents went about their daily businesses as those trying to access cash were also seen loitering around the automated teller machines belonging to different banks across the city. Residents in Cross River State say their expectations are high. They want the exercise to hold in peace and secured environment.
Election tomorrow should be successful, and I wish our vote should also count, that we should have a peaceful election tomorrow.
People that love this country will certainly vote. They said some financial distress that is really affecting at this period will cause a lot of problem as in a poor turnout. Definitely, that's what we are expecting. I'm not exaggerating. I'm very vital. I'm very sure about what I'm saying.
I've been voting right from when I turned 18, but I've never seen this kind of charisma in the voters. Now everybody's ready to vote. It's like this is the first election that Nigerians are so much interested in, and it's not going to be as usual because, like me, 80% of my friends that have not voted before even have their PVC and they are ready to vote. So you can see from the whole town, everywhere is getting dry because people are now traveling to where the allocation is.
Those unable to get their permanent voters card already feel disenfranchised ahead of the exercise.
There are many people that have not collected their PVCs. In those days, even if you have not collected, they carry your PVC to a polling unit. When you get there, you pick your PVC and vote. So now they are depriving us of our right of voting. So I don't know. They should tell them to release our PVC. Even tomorrow, I'm ready to vote if I see my PVC.
It's few hours to the 2023 presidential and National Assembly elections. And available data from the Independent National Electoral Commission states that number of registered voters as at today in Cross River State stands at 1,766,466. Those that collected their PVCs as at today stands at 1,672,810. That stands at 94.7% level of collection. Many believe that this should translate to a huge turnout tomorrow for the exercise. Tolulope Ogunjobi, TVC News, Cross River State.
The INEC office in the state capital, Abakaliki, is busy with activities. Supervisory presiding officers can be seen checking for their names and the poll officials that will work under them. Boxes of beavers can be seen on the ground and some loaded in vehicles. The head of Department Voter Education and Publicity, Dr. Christian Elekwa, sheds more light on this.
Now, these are the beavers we are talking about, the game changer. So, these beavers have been distributed according to the number of polling units we have in each local government area of Ebonyi State. So you can see all these vehicles now loaded and they are moving them to all the local government. The electoral officers are here, they are taking care of it.
For the state resident electoral commissioner, voters have nothing to be afraid of as the commission is fully ready for the elections on Saturday.
We have done everything we need to do for the election to take place. All our sensitive and non-sensitive materials are now at the field. In the night, they will move to rack centers for onward movement to polling units early hours of the morning. We are ready. We don't have any issue here. With enough security and everything, we are ready for the election.
With this, voters in the state can confidently go to the polls tomorrow. Ivy Kano, TVC News, Ebonyi State.
This is the Kaduna State Commissioner of Police final brief with officers and men who have been deployed for effective monitoring of the presidential election on Saturday in Kaduna State. He warns that the police will not tolerate persons or actions that may compromise the election or cause unrest.
My message to the hooligans or criminals who wants to thwart this election that Kaduna State is not safe for them, they should stay clear and allow good people of Kaduna to cast their votes to exercise their franchise.
Although Kaduna has been identified as one of the flashpoints in Saturday's election, INEC says election will hold in all polling units in the 23 local government areas of the state.
The arrangement we've made is for all the 8,012 polling units in the state, all the 23 local governments, all the 255 wards, no exception. Every arrangement has been made to ensure that the elections are conducted. I have this peace in my mind that the elections are going to hold and violence will be neutralized, at least during the election period.
INEC has set up a situation room to monitor the elections in all the polling units. The commissioner shows that there are about 300 extra beavers machine and roving technicians in case of technical glitches at polling stations. Zira Ayeku, TVC News, Kaduna.
Okay, welcome back. Still with Professor Kila in studio here. And we see a series of reports that materials are where they need to be. In fact, the professor, the INEC chairman, had said yesterday that they're very happy with where they're at. Their planning has gone very well. So this sort of reassures us. Shortly, in just over an hour and a half or so, the whole process will begin with accreditation. And everybody is looking forward to a hitch-free election. The president, Muhammadu Buhari, has said that that is uppermost on his mind, a whole credible process.
Yes.
What do you think about
well, I think
he's enabled...
it's a good thing that he has that intention. It's even a better thing that he's publicly committing himself to that, because I think, that's a crucial thing that he's going for. If I score him low on governance, overall in his 8 years, I think he hasn't done well. But at least he's trying to go over the legacy of free and fair election, and trust me, that's a big thing in Nigeria. For him to go for.
And this whole matter where we speak about power of incumbency and the incumbency benefit, it seems like the president is trying to be even-handed here.
Yes.
Trying to be even.
I think he's definitely, trying to prove himself not to be so partisan to influence the thing. It's a new balance we're striking here.
And it isn't the way it used to be.
No, it isn't the way it used to be.
It's not the way it used to be.
No,
He's striking a balance that, look, go out and vote for anybody. And any party of your choice. That, even if, by the time he said that, days before, he was at a rally of
his own party,
legitimately. Yes, but he still is saying, go out and vote for anybody of your choice.
I think that statement is naive. I think it's naive and it's unnecessary. Look, the truth is this. The president of the country is a political leader. He's not one strange father of the nation that does not belong to anybody and belongs to all. That is total rubbish. Let's say it the way it is now.
That's his famous quote on
yes, that is not. An elected partisan leader belongs to his all party. And belongs to his party foremost, belongs to his worldview. Because I belong to my party does not mean I hate the other side. It simply means that we are bounded by some ideology, some view of the world that makes us want the country to go in the way we believe is right. It simply means that. It doesn't mean saying. And I think the idea of saying, no, go and vote for whoever you like, I suspect is because maybe he himself is an undecided voter.
Because
I can see his passion.
That would have suited the other, front runners. In this case, he has, I think 3 front runners.
Yes, you see, but not really. I think he's just trying to, in a naive way, in a true simplistic way, make it clear that citizens have a choice. But he doesn't.
And that I'm not about to influence anything.
You. But you see, he doesn't need to tell us that. What he needs to do is what he's doing. You see, sometimes you use what is not necessary to spoil what is necessary and that you've done well. What he needs to do is what he has done. Provide all the logistics or INEC, make sure they're independent, do what they need to, allow them to do what they need to do. You don't need to tell us you can go for whoever you want. That's just redundant. It's not necessary. No kudos for him on that. But kudos for making sure INEC gets everything they get. At least, even, the CBN people, in their quote-unquote, if anybody accuses me, in their quote-unquote madness, they made sure INEC got their their funding.
The material, the money that they needed.
Yes, I think so far, again, unless they just go and disgrace me now, I think so far, so good for the process. Because I like the man from Kaduna that used the expression, it is clear to me in my mind that everything's in place.
Everything is in place.
That is the way public officials need to
and that
speak.
this election will hold. And it's important for that this is being repeated.
Exactly. Because of all those doubting
all those doubts, nothing is going to happen. This election is going to be successful. It shows a commitment, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and it shows growth. And by the way, amazingly, the day has come. We've not even said that from the beginning of the show. It appeared this day was never going to come since like a year ago. The idea 25th of April. It appeared as one
of February.
Of February, one mythical day.
Yeah.
It is here.
Off in the distant future.
Yes, that might come, that might not come.
And here we are.
Here we are.
We have started it, and a lot of people are saying that we will end it. People hope and really feel that we will end it very well. The INEC chair yesterday was saying that the results are going to be released speedily. He said he's not about to put his finger on how many hours or how many, but that it will be speedy, speedier than the last election that took over 2 days to announce the reports. Yes. So that begins to suggest that if it were up to the way the INEC chairman is seeing it,
projecting it,
projecting it, he's hoping to be able to announce tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow evening.
Maybe tomorrow evening.
And as you can see, we've moved from the days when the former chairman, my good friend Jega, was counting it in with calculator. That I kept on saying, no, can we not use an Excel sheet or something? So we've moved from calculators that took days to this one that is taking 2.5 days. And hopefully this year, we're going to...
Less than 2.5 days.
Exactly. So it's a marginal thing. It's just people like me, people like us who are pushing them further.
Sort of
impatient
you're
and
being eternally skeptical.
So. Well, I think it's just wanting more, and it's wanting more.
Because
for
you
the whole
think-
country and for myself.
Yes.
But I think it's doable.
And that they have the capacity to
To
do more.
do it. You know, I know, talking of young people, I know some people, I know some graduates of CIAPS. I know some people across the country that if we put them in a room, perhaps a building, not a room, if we put them in a building and tell them to come up with ideas on how to better manage this election, you will be shocked with the presentation they will make for you.
Because of the excellence of
Because
such
of the
proposals.
excellence, because of the leap you will see between the potentials we have and where we are today. So maybe that is what those of us who look at things globally and look at the future, that is why we're not so enthusiastic about where we are. But in reality, again, I must say, objectively, you must see gradual improvement. You must acknowledge that INEC keeps getting better election after election.
Okay, let's take a bit of a look at security now. You know, security is crucial, of course, as everybody knows, for the peaceful and credible conduct of the elections. And to ensure a smooth conduct of these polls, security agencies from the police to the military have mapped out some strategies.
Yes. Nigeria Police is deploying 310,000 personnel, 973. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense will deploy 51,000 personnel. The Federal Road Safety Corps is deploying 21,000. Nigerian Correctional Service will deploy 11,336. National Drug Law Enforcement Agency will deploy 9,447. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission will deploy 350 officers, while the Nigerian Immigration Service will deploy 21,000. This brings the total to 425,106 personnel to police. Deployment of armed personnel to ensure INEC facilities we will also be assisted by the military and other security agencies in complementing this effort. Armed escort will be provided for INEC materials, electoral officers, observers, and those who have any business to do. Deployment of our tactical units will all take place.
There will be a lot of attention on Rivers as Nigerians go to the polls on Saturday due to the state's history of electoral violence. Not leaving anything to chance, a team of 4 police commissioners led by an assistant inspector general of police have been deployed to coordinate security. They have promised a heavy police presence in the state in addition to more than 5,000 NSCDC personnel. While the massive deployment of men and equipment is important, another concern is the conduct of these officers.
I want to urge everybody, all residents of River State, to come out en masse and vote on Saturday and beyond. We have ample or sufficient security coverage on the ground. Be rest assured of that.
We are apolitical. We are not supporting any political party. We have a directive to be fair to all, and we have also warned our men that are carrying arms not to go close to any polling units. And also, we shall not accept any form of accidental discharge by our men.
For now, security agencies are appealing to everyone participating in the election to play by the rules, but say they are prepared to handle any threat to the process.
Election is not war. Election is a democratic process. Any other persons who go and bring inconceivable motives to do otherwise, we are not going to fold our arms and allow that kind of situation to exist.
We don't want to give anybody an edge in this election. The Commander-in-Chief have warned that the election should be free and fair, and he has warned all the security men, including the armed forces, to be fair to everyone. Nobody shall compromise. We are aware that the world is watching.
Movement of security personnel to their duty posts has begun and will continue until all 23 local government areas are covered. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
The State Commissioner of Police explains that the nation's law bans such paramilitary organizations from election activities.
New electoral laws did not recognize the services of the local security groups. By so doing, Adamawa State Police Command, in compliance to that laws, decided to go about engaging the services of sister security agencies.
The electorate expressed readiness to troop out to elect their preferred candidates.
I will definitely go and vote for my choice because as a citizen, it's one of your rights to go and vote for the person that you think will help you to progress.
And I believe if everybody ignores not voting, then we end up not electing bad leaders. And it will also be difficult for us to make complaints when we don't elect the rightful leaders.
Meanwhile, the resident electoral commissioners in the two states have distributed sensitive materials to all the local governments in their areas of coverage.
But for the sensitive items, as vital as they are, as indicated by the name, we got them through the CBN. You know, they are like the currency, very protective, very interesting, and just...
The electorate in Adamawa and Taraba are eager to cast their votes tomorrow, despite the economic hardship in the country.
The Deputy Inspector General of Police briefed security men in southeast Nigeria today ahead of the presidential election. He reassured citizens, residents, observers, and policemen of their safety ahead of the presidential election during a press briefing.
He has given me the areas that have been identified as flashpoints, the black spots, and he has told me all that he have done to ensure that those areas are not infiltrated by the non-state actors and they stop the process. So we are fully taking charge of what you are asking me. We have fully taken charge. We have made deployment to those areas. Those are, you know, before election, we do what they call threat analysis. We have already done our threat analysis. We have identified those points and we have made adequate arrangement to make sure that we curtail whatever towards consequences that may arise.
As security personnel have been deployed to the 5,270 polling units in Anambra State, residents have been reassured of their safety and have been encouraged to come out to perform their civic duty. Sharon Ijason, TVC News, Anambra State.
Okay, crisscrossing to, catch up with our reporters up and down the country. There'll be more of that. We just looked at the situation report, security situation report in Rivers, Cross River, Ebonyi, Kaduna, and Anambra. And it's fitting that we are assured, because Anambra is what it is. It's from a point of view of security, people feel you should keep a close eye on that. And there are the security personnel saying that everything is good in Anambra. They've assured the people, but rightly so. The proscribed IPOB have said that they're not interested in the election one way or the other. But then there was this stay-at-home order. But now IPOB has put out there that it is not against or for. So we have nothing to do with any sit-at-home or stay-at-home order. All of this is helpful, right?
Well, I think it's good. What is really reassuring and, what is heartwarming is the declaration of the police that they're committed to it and that they're willing to, they say it in a language which could be better framed, that they're willing to go ahead and that whoever, tries to block the process will meet the wrath of the law. I think that is a good thing. And also their presence. So that's a good thing for the election. It leaves a sore taste in mouth. I'm a bit saddened by the fact that this reaction we're having now, we're having it just for election.
Okay.
I would have wanted, when the stay-at-home orders was issued by anybody, to disrupt business, education, people who are even going to love each other,
that people
or to worship their
that
lives.
the authorities had moved
That
then.
the authorities has moved them to say, how dare you disrupt the life of our citizens? And that the authority, and I argued then, and I argue now, that the authority should have gone there with greater and legitimate force to outdo them. The essence of a state, you see, when we talk about a state, when we talk about a failed state or a failing state, one of the clearest manifestations of a state is its ability to use superior but legitimate force against any other factions in the country. So where a state cannot deploy, and it goes together, where a state cannot deploy superior legitimate force, it shows the state is failing. To that extent, the fact that in a part of the country, an organization which is not an institutional organization has been able to issue a stay-at-home order against the interest and against the loss of the interest of the people, the loss of the land, and the practice of institution is a very sad situation.
And because especially as they have held it up for so long.
For so long.
Until recently
You
when...
see, I argue that they should have deployed 4 times what they're deploying today there, and make sure that every corner of the state where you go, you meet an armored car, a group of policemen.
Yes, but surely there's a balance that also they must have been keeping their eyes on, because you don't want it to seem, I imagine, like elections are being militarized. And,
well, that's election. No,
you know.
but you don't want to seem to. It looks militarized.
This is it.
It looks militarized. My argument is that at this point, it is okay for it to be militarized. But my argument is that even before now, they should have militarized the place, so that when you leave your house and go to your shop on Monday on a stay-at-home order, you are not threatened, because you know the institution have for this idea to protect you. And I think that's what is missing.
Now, Anambra, the guys in uniform explained to, assure us that everything is as should be. Kaduna is another...
it's another space where we're assured.
Where we're assured. And
yes. The assurance of Kaduna I like, because the man, really took responsibility and charge. And he talked about clarity of mind, to say, in my mind, I know everything is fine. But I think other states are assuring us as well. They're bringing people to...
Indeed.
Yes,
and we shall be touching base with those, as I was saying. We have reporters all over the place, from Sokoto right down to Lagos, and we shall be bringing those to you. But we have started, as Professor Anthony Kila has said, it was a day that was far off, and we were it's not that we were wondering. We knew it would come, but somehow it's almost surprising that it has come upon us.
Yes.
And here we are on election day, this, the TBC studio decision 2023, on election day. Roughly in about an hour or so, a little over an hour, the whole process shall swing. Yes, it will start. And then we'll be able to see how invested Nigerians are really in this process. Will they come out en masse? We expect that, because a new phenomenon in these elections is social media, isn't it?
Yes.
Never before, mostly, have the contestants been able to reach as wide a populace as they have. Yeah. In addition to all those rallies, those who don't have the wherewithal for rallies, have they been left very much out of the show by relying on social media?
I don't really think so. I think, left to me, I think rallies are actually outdated. Rally shows the strength of a candidate in a particular place, and perhaps the ability to put on a show. Because,
which somehow psychologically is also important. Because after all, elections are something of a festival.
Exactly. There's a lot of psychological thing going on there, psychological, sociological thing going on. So, I think it's outdated, but trust me, I know nobody's going to listen to me.
I hear you.
People keep doing their
because
rallies.
You wonder what exactly is achieved at those
rallies.
For instance, nobody is listening to your manifesto.
Exactly.
There's excitement, there's entertainment.
You see, we mistake it. The original ideas of rallies, there are 3 steps to it. In the first era of rallies, there was not so much access to information. So rallies were the only place where you really got to meet political ideas. That is phase 1. Then we go to another state about 100 years later, when rallies were mainly for party members and operatives to meet and share ideas. So that in these states, all of us, this is what we're going to be doing. And it's a very American system, where you go to each state and you meet people and you appeal to them and then you share ideas because it's a big state. The third state where we are now is more of a fun fair. But I see the importance because it shows the other side and other people that you are in charge and you can put on a show.
Exactly.
And that the candidate is loved. Amazingly, these candidates that want to rule, a lot of people who are very strong men, they also like to be loved. They love the crowd calling their name and they're waving, a bit like a Pope or a King or Michael Jackson. Except that, well, in Nigeria, luckily for us, most of them can even dance. Elsewhere, they don't dance. I think our politicians can actually put up
a show. It's a show, as you said,
exactly.
at the end of the day.
They put them down.
But
I think more information, I think those who did not go to the rallies got more information. And this is a trend in the world. You must notice something that never in the history of humanity has information been so available. It has never happened to mankind before.
It hasn't. This is new.
This is new.
This is
where
new.
You can know anything from anywhere. So that's a lot.
Remember going back to the First Republic,
Yes.
the build up to it, Awolowo and co, they had to be crisscrossing the country in helicopters in order to go and meet them. They used to be having these sky banners, remember?
Exactly,
Oh dear.
to see them.
I just gave away my age there, by remembering those kind of...
But that's where a lot of people learn to canvas, to actually go about with leaflets. Where, if you're lucky, they throw water at you. They don't bring these people.
But now, you have...
Switch on your TV.
Or your phone, for that matter.
Can you imagine? TV, laptop, then you even go to phone.
Because political players have sort of come to understand the value, the power of social media. And so they're in there putting their message out there too. I believe in his time, President Barack Obama made very good use of social media, we were told. Of the internet.
Of the internet. Well, he was the one that took it to a very high level. But, in our own contribution to the world, our own Nigerian... President Goodluck Jonathan was the first president in the world to declare his candidacy on Facebook, on social media. He was the first president to say, I'm going to run. He went to declare his intention to contest on Facebook. I don't know if he's on the Guinness Book of Records, but history shows that he's the first sitting president to do that.
Okay. The other thing we could look at, Tony, is election observers. They also play a crucial role in elections, and there are quite a number of them that are on ground. So let's give you some updates on some of them that are already in the field for these elections.
Barely 24 hours to decision day, the Independent National Electoral Commission is upbeat about this election to elect a new president and National Assembly members. A total of 87.2 million Nigerians out of 93.4 million registered citizens are eligible to vote, being the number of collected permanent voters' cards. This represents about 93.3% of the total registered voters in the country, with about 6.2 million registered voters failing to collect their PVCs. This center has a field data collection strategy relying on over 25,000 poll monitors and is also leveraging its data acquisition tool called the Poll Part. It is confident that more Nigerians will vote in the 2023 elections, going by the early signs of high level of PVC collection that have increased from 86% in 2019 to over 93% in 2023 of registered voters. The director and coordinator of the response room is, however, particular about the need to build permanent structures to improve electoral outcomes and democratic participation. He indicates that other factors, including insecurity, mechanics of biometrics and non-portable registration, as well as current socio-economic conditions, may still hamper these lofty expectations. It is projected that both Southeast and Northwest may experience lower voter turnout due to security situation, but the monitors are highly optimistic about other regions of Nigeria.
We'll have a marginally increased turnout because the couple of regions of the country are experiencing bouts of violence, especially the Northwest and the Southeast. However, 2 regions or 3 regions are showing signs of increased turnout, southwest, northeast, and the south-south. And we expect the north-central to remain around what it was in 2019. By and large, the turnout at the last election was 35% of registered voters. We expect that number to be maintained or marginally increased. We don't expect it to go up so much. Despite the social media fervor that we're seeing, we do not think it will necessarily translate to increased number of voters.
Pointing to a future where data drives decision-making and political behavior, Mr. Oluwagbemi calls on state institutions to provide a level playing field, while both the securities and INEC should not disappoint Nigerians as they troop out for the next few weeks to elect their leaders. The while at its response center has also identified the importance of institutions in conducting a free, fair and credible election. It also advised all political parties to abide by the rules to ensure each free election. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
Unlike most states, the Uyo branch of the Central Bank of Nigeria is yet to distribute the sensitive materials to the 31 local government areas of the state. This security man says the materials will be moved from the Apex Bank on Friday. Speaking with some of the residents, they say despite the orders of no cash and for scarcity, they will come out and vote for the candidate of their choice.
This is my submission to Nigerians. Even though it takes you borrowing your money to come out, borrow money and go and put your fingers on that ballot paper and salvage Nigeria.
Let the will of God be done. That is what we are praying, and that is what God wants also in Nigeria.
For European observers, they are eager to monitor the elections from every perspective and note the transparency and the process.
We are the team of the election observation mission of the European Union, observing the elections in Cross River and Akwa Ibom. And at the moment, we are preparing ourselves to observe election day in Akwa Ibom.
And we're reporting everything back to our core team headquarters in Abuja, and they will come out with a report 2 days after the election.
Irrespective of the challenges that the country is currently facing, the people of Akwa Ibom have decided to make an informed choice by voting for the right candidate that will pilot the affairs of the nation for the next 4 years. Ademola Lawrence, TVC News, Uyo.
Okay, so monitors there. You saw some of the monitors. As I said, we'll be on this. We'll keep on showing you these pictures from across the country. Everybody's interested in monitoring, and fittingly so, right? The EU, I think the UK government, the US government, they've put out advisories on one hand. But now we've got to the level where partnering with us, they're sort of wishing us well, and we just want to come and observe, the process. We don't go to America when they don't send Nigerian, observers to America. We go to other African countries. So it's an African thing.
Well, you see, that's the thing. I think, look, it is needed and it is good that there, so we can mention it. But it's baffling and it's a bit embarrassing for me because I personally, as a strategist, I've worked in elections in 5 countries.
Okay.
And in all these 5 countries, the only countries where observers were prominent, at least, are only African countries. I've participated in elections in the UK, in Italy, in the US, and in all these places, we don't talk about observers. We talk about, we don't even, amazingly,
yes.
And I ask Nigerians to notice this, they don't even talk about the electoral body, the commission. Nobody knows.
You don't know who they are, but in Africa, you will know.
You will know. So
because it will constantly be in the news, especially in Nigeria, but also in Ghana,
it's unfortunate.
And other countries.
We need to understand that these are abnormalities that we need to correct. Because in reality, what should matter is voters and contestants. Exactly. And that's what you should talk about. But that's where
it's about the credibility of, because you're very right, because when you see the way INEC is reporting back to the nation, back to society, every move they are making, they're letting us know. And it's all this whole matter about
and the INEC people,
wanting to be seen to be doing the right thing.
Well, you see, they have to.
And level playing ground.
They become I don't know if they are the ones that become like INEC. They become like those, what are those people called? The people during the coronavirus. Those people giving updates. The Disease Control Center.
Yeah, CDC.
The CDC people. And nobody knew them. All of a sudden, they became the new stars.
Yes.
And they were giving an update, and the Commissioner for Health. That is the way INEC seems to be. It's like, we're treating election like a pandemic, like one crisis. That's the point.
It could become one if one is not careful, and I think
you're right.
It could become one. And so this is why they're preventing it by putting out information that
and it's a good thing.
Look at where we got to now. We're reporting. Look at all the details that INEC has given us on its security, on its technological, on the process, teaching. Somebody called in and said, you know, yesterday on one of the TVC programs. Look, if I don't know where my polling station is, what can I do? Mike Igini, formerly of INEC, he was busy on air explaining to the...
Mike Igini is born to explain. He's always explaining.
Really? Even though he's no more in INEC.
No, he's an explainer.
But he still is committed to the process.
To that explaining, yes.
And, you know...
And I think, by the way, we should repeat it now. Before you go out, go to INEC website.
Exactly.
And you can find your polling unit.